Oh, sorry, piggy. Today we are doing something different. You might wonder why this aspect ratio is kind of weird and the screen you're looking at is very weird. It's because this video is actually going to be shot in VR 180. What that means is basically that if you're on your computer or desktop, you can use your mouse and kind of drag it around the screen. So I'll let you do that for a second. You can go up, you can go down, you can go to the left, you can go to the right. Fairly simple. If you're on a mobile phone, basically by holding the mobile phone, all you have to do is tilt down, tilt up, tilt right, tilt left, so you can basically see everything that's around me in a 180 plane of view. And finally, if you have one, you can use kind of like those VR goggles or cardboard sets that YouTube has, and you can move around with me. And in this case, you basically become the camera. And what we're actually trying to do today is we are making a lechon pig. In the Philippines, lechon is super popular. Everyone absolutely loves it. It's one of my favorite Filipino dishes. And I'm gonna use a very, very small pig. And what we're gonna try to do is build an electric or a hydro or a wind powered or a solar powered, whatever we can figure out, rig so that the lechon actually roasts on a pit that we will build also. This is very DIY. I am not a mechanic, I am not an engineer, and you'll very clearly see that very soon. All we're trying to do is try to give us a time where we're not actually just spinning the whole pig for about 3 to 4 hours. We're gonna be cooking on coal, so I want something that takes that job away from us. So we're gonna go now to a junk shop where we basically ask for some parts to be put together, bicycle wheel and the likes, and the rest we'll figure out over there. So we're here in the Gupay market. So there's a lot of junk shops around here, and we were able to find one yesterday that had like a spare bicycle wheel. And what we asked him to do is basically put the bicycle wheel and attach it to kind of like a piece of steel that hopefully will fit the lechon that goes on top of it. And then now all we need to do is kind of figure out that system. So this is what we got here. So if you can kind of pan down, you can see it. So it's attached. And then the whole process is we'll try to make this spin as much as we can and figure out how that's gonna work out. We'll obviously brush this and clean it first. And then this should be able to spin the lechon. See if that happens. All right, so we are currently in my parents' house. They allowed me to shoot here today. I'm not gonna do it on the grass because if I burn my dad's grass, he's absolutely gonna kill me. So we decided to do it here on the brick so it's safe. But before we kind of figure out the rig that we will be building, let's marinate the little pig that we have. So very simple, I got some soy sauce. At any point, if you want to see what I'm doing here, just make sure to kind of tilt your phone or look down or scroll down with the mouse. So we're gonna start with the soy sauce. Oh my God, it's one of those things that, okay. You can be generous here. This is basically what we're gonna use to quote unquote bathe or wash the pig. It's been thoroughly rinsed with water already. A little bit of fish sauce and some pepper. Make sure to get everything in the cavity as well. If this part's too gruesome for you, just focus on my face. Don't look down. Okay, pig's ready. We're just gonna leave that there until we prepare everything else. Next, we're gonna do the stuffing. So if you wanna kind of pan the camera down a little bit, just to make it easier for you guys to watch what we're doing. Sorry, we're still figuring out this format. So we're gonna start by chopping up 1 onion. To that, I'm gonna add some garlic. So I'm gonna put a lot of garlic in here. Let's just chop everything. Small pig, but I think a lot of garlic will just bring a lot of flavor to the whole dish. To that, we're gonna add some lemongrass. And then right before stuffing, we're also gonna put some pandan in there. So I'm gonna bash together just the stalks, keep the leaves to the side. So all we're trying to do here is kind of release all the flavor that's in there. Okay, that's properly bashed up, so we can mix that with the garlic and the onions. And that's basically gonna be our base flavoring for inside the pig. All right, so I got you guys a bit closer so you can actually see what we're doing here. All we're gonna do now is stuff our pig. So this cavity right here, what we're gonna do, there's already some soy sauce in there, but we're gonna add a little bit of salt. Mix that in nicely and start putting all our stuffing in there. Next, these are the stalks that we didn't use a while ago. We're gonna go ahead and put that inside as well. And then the last one we're gonna use is some fresh pandan leaves. This is just personal preference. It's kind of like what I like to stuff my lechon with. Some people would add chilies, ginger, you know, spices. It's really up to you and how you want to do it. So we're gonna close that belly, and to help us close it, so it's very important to have some kitchen twine. Something that I figured out a long time ago was if I didn't have like one of those big needles, just use a chopstick that you can basically break, and then just shave it with a knife to get it as kind of like thin as a noodle, and then as a needle, that's what I meant. And then we're gonna start closing the belly up. So if you got a medical degree, you could probably do this much better than I can. If it's not sharp enough, use a knife, poke a little hole, string it along. Let me break down the plan for you. So we're gonna build a pit here. We have to start with a base. So this is gonna be where most of our fire will be coming from. Ideally, we'd have something a bit wider, but this is all I have to work with. I don't want to ruin anything else here. So we're gonna use this. This is kind of like an old brick barbecue that my mom has that she never uses anymore. So this will be the base of where the fire will be, right? Next, from the junk shop, we got these two things, which are basically welded together. I cannot weld to save my life, so these guys did it with 2 hooks. So I asked them to put 2 hooks, depending on the, you know, how high we want the pig to be. I think we're gonna be using the top one. Once we have that, we're gonna be grabbing our wheel. So this is gonna be here like this, and what we want this to do is just be in a continuous movement and continuously moving. That's saying moving twice. And how are we gonna do that? Now comes the tricky part. So what I've done here, I have a cooler. That's filled with water. We're then gonna fill or stick cans of beer onto this wheel, and then hopefully with a steady jet of water, the wheel will just keep turning, right? So we're gonna get some cans and hollow them out and then figure that out. First problem we have is this has to be much higher because the cans have to go through this to grab some water. So thank God my dad's like 72, but he still works out really a lot. So he's got some weights we can use. Oh, I'm gonna be a sweaty mess during this whole video. It's not sponsored by San Miguel, but they should definitely sponsor me at one point. So we'll empty these. Then we need to figure out how to make a hole here. I'm gonna try the can opener first to see if that actually works. If not, then we're gonna have to do it manually by hand. It's kind of working. Kids, do not try this at home because this is how accidents happen and this is how you cut yourself. Okay, now that we have an empty can, we're gonna have to fasten it here in a way that hopefully it doesn't move. So I actually saw this, what they call the Furphy wheel online, and they used some zip ties. So hopefully zip ties will be enough and that we won't actually need glue. So I'm gonna tie this and then I'm gonna tie this zip tie just to the lower sprockets here. And then yeah, and then the water is gonna hit the bottom of the can, hopefully forcing everything down this way, and then it'll grab more water. Okay, so we'll go ahead and empty all the other cans. The beer won't go to waste. You can do a lot with beer. You can braise with beer. We're actually gonna use some of the beer to just coat the lechon, so hopefully the sugars that are in the beer help caramelize and give us that beautiful color. So I'm gonna finish all of those, and I'll see you guys in a bit. Oh, sorry, piggy. So all we gotta do now is actually tie the legs together, which is super key. So I'm just gonna be using some steel over here. This looks pretty much ready, so we're gonna start the fire. Once the fire is up, we're gonna figure out the water wheel with the hose and see if that works and fix that, and hopefully it starts spinning because it's 3 p.m. now. By the time this is done, it's gonna be like nighttime. All right, this is much harder than what I expected it to be, but we've got the fire going. We're gonna get it a little higher so that we get a little bit of flame since this is quite low, so hopefully that helps kind of cook this. We have our wheel set up. We have two hoses coming out the back, and we'll show you that in a bit, that are pushing out the water of the cooler, because one of our problems was that the cooler was filling up with too much water, creating too much resistance for the cans. And now we're actually gonna start running the hose so that you'll see this thing spinning. As you can see, I'm here. Sometimes it spins way too fast. I think the cans are too close together at some points. Was as the cooler fills up with water, there should be more resistance. So this should actually spin slightly slower, and we should get hopefully that perfect crisp skin that we want. At this point, honestly, I just want to cook this pig. I don't really care how crispy it gets, but at least we know that it's working. We just need to figure out the right kind of like placement for the water. All right, so we can clearly see that the concept works. We were trying to build a rig that basically moves the Lechon without having to be there manually. These are the issues that we had. Without having to move it manually, without the use of electricity or many mechanical systems, or not being engineers or anything, just to try to figure something out that would actually work. So today's video's purpose was more about building the rig than cooking the pig. I'm just saying that because, as you can see, one of the issues that we had, and I think if we go back to the drawing board for this, we'll see that the cans are probably, some of them were not spaced out properly. So you have kind of like this quick turn happening, and what that does is cook one side of the pig more than it does the other. The other thing I would have probably changed, and if I could have welded, I would have probably put the stoppers a bit lower or the grill a bit higher so that we get a faster cook. We've been at it now for about 2.5 hours, and we are losing light. So we're gonna see where we're at now. The pig has a beautiful color, and it's actually cooking. And now we're starting to get some even coloring around. So eventually, I think maybe 2 more hours of this and we'd have a perfect pig, but it would be pitch black, and we have other things to do, so we can't take care of that. Those are the issues I was talking about. So there's a lot of readjustments that have to be done. There's a lot of things that we could have changed to make this rig maybe a bit better. So I'm gonna stop it right now, and we're gonna go ahead and just taste the pig where it's at. The other thing about this, obviously, there's a lot of water being used, but then what's cool about my parents' house is they have a pool that actually uses recycled water. So we're getting the water from the pool, and it's going in there, and then it's recycled into the pool, so we're not really wasting any water. Let's check the crispiness. We're not gonna get exactly what we want. Usually you can hear it. So if I do this here, it sounds very smooth, but if I do it here, it sounds a bit drier, which means that this part is slightly more cooked and actually is getting crispy. So we would get there eventually. Let's cut this up. Chester, can you help me? If you can just hold this, please. This part seems to be the crispiest at this point. So the fat is cooked through. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, that's actually really good. I mean, the flavor's there. Obviously, we could have gotten a bit crispier. But if you can hear it, it's pretty there. I'm not gonna call it a success, I'm gonna call it like a semi-success. So I think a little bit more patience, a little bit more elbow grease at the drawing table, and I think we would have nailed this. So definitely not the last time I try this. We're definitely gonna try this one more time, but I'm actually quite surprised. That was pretty good.